There are two kinds of people in this world. The people who fail to do what they know they should, and those who keep doing things they know they shouldn't. Guess what? You're both. Hi, I'm your podcast host and life and business coach, Marcy Barker, aka your loving kick in the pants. In this podcast, I'll teach you the 6 steps of my accountability code framework that will enable you to wake up with clarity and show up with aligned action steps that make follow through easy and peaceful. When you're ready for more, head to marcybarker.com and we'll chat about your next goal. All right, let's dive in. Hello, my beautiful people. Today, we're going to talk about raising your prices. And this topic I'm really excited about because I think it's such an important part of business that a lot of people skip over just because they don't know how to do it. They're not sure of themselves. They don't know how to justify it. And they just have never done it before. So today we're going to dive into different aspects of the accountability code and how those factors can help you raise your prices. But this is inspired by a post I made in my Boss Minded group. And I asked people, what are some tips for someone who needs to raise their prices? So this post was really, really helpful for a lot of people. And so I thought it would be a perfect thing to turn into a podcast episode for you. So the very first comment, we're just going to dive right into it. This person said, be confident. You don't have to explain why to anyone. And I really, really love this. This particular person, I asked her for a quote on her services and they were pretty pricey. But you know what? I didn't question her because I don't do the services that she does. And she has every right to charge whatever price she wants to charge. And so I think that that's a really good thing. Just remember, you don't have to explain your prices to anybody. And I feel like that's a really important skill because if you are a people pleaser, then you might feel the need to explain why your prices are so high. And I think you'd be surprised too at how many people just skip that step altogether and they don't raise their prices just because they will give a price that's more competitive or what people might expect. So that's the first one. Be confident. You don't have to explain why to anybody. Next person said, don't act like it's a big deal and your clients won't care. If you're apologetic about it, they'll act like it's a big inconvenience. Just do it and do it with confidence. There we go. Confidence again. Really love that. Another part of the accountability code that can help you with confidence is planning. If you know that every once in a while, every quarter, every 6 months, every year, you'll raise your prices, I think that's a really good way to be confident in what you're doing. Because when I first started my accountability accelerator program, I charged $750 for 8 weeks and I gave a lot of personal time. I was doing personal calls with like 30 people every other week. And that was a lot for me. I really, really enjoyed it, but it was pretty draining. However, it was something I needed to do to really test the accountability code in my first program. Now, that was 3 years ago. Almost 4 years ago. And my program is not $750 anymore. My current price for my accountability accelerator sits at $3,000. And it feels really, really good because that price really justifies the results that I get people. And I feel like it's a sweet spot. And I'm not opposed to raising it at all. But right now, the past 2 times I've done my program, that's the price it's been. And it feels like a sweet spot. So yeah, I don't think I really ever have to tell people why it's going up. I think the results speak for themselves. Another person said, I've heard some marketing people say never raise prices without advertising that you will be raising them. This can get you an influx of people wanting to get in at old pricing. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. It adds an energy to my price increase I don't particularly care for, but it's something to consider. I think I 100% agree with this comment too, that I think that grandfathering in people at certain prices can be a good strategy if you're able to continue providing that product or service at the lower price. And I do agree that there is an energy that's like, hurry and get in before prices go up. And I think that can be done authentically, or it can be done as, like desperate influx of cash real quick. So another person said, raise them now, not after the new year. People care less about the cost of items and services during the holiday season, but after the new year, it stands out in more of a negative view. This one is a really good point as well. I feel like just like the person who commented said, like, people are willing to spend money during the holiday season, and a lot of times that's on credit. They're spending because it's the season for spending, and then the new year comes and people definitely restrict, or, it's a new quarter, it's a new calendar year, so they think twice about it. I don't think there's any problem with the timing of when you raise your prices. I think that it just has to be in alignment with what you feel and what you should do. Because one of my clients right now, she was like, I'll raise them in the new year. And I'm like, there is absolutely zero reason to raise them in the new year, because right now we either need to get them to pay more money or you need to get them to fire you, because the work you're doing is not a fair reflection of the price that they're paying you. So the sooner we can fix that, the better. Another person said, make sure you're confident in a new pricing before doing so. The energy behind it matters. There we go. Confidence. Confidence strikes again for the third time. And I think that another way to improve your confidence, we talked about planning, like knowing that your prices are going to go up. But another thing that can help you increase your prices with confidence is to utilize the last step of the accountability code, which is feedback. Feedback is information used as a basis for improvement. Now, my mastermind, my Wake Up and Show Up mastermind, my prices are higher than when I did it a year ago. And part of that reason was there was a couple people who got on the phone with me. We did a call to see if we were a good fit, and they paid me on the spot. And as soon as the transaction went through, they blurted out, you didn't charge me enough. And I was like, oh man, you can tip me if you want to. But from that moment, like having multiple clients tell me that my price was too small, even before delivering them a ton of results, that feedback gave me the confidence to raise them for my next round. So totally did that. Somebody else was looking for tips because they haven't had a price increase for 3 years, you guys. At a very minimum, your prices should go up by 4%, because that's the rate of inflation. Like, cost of living is going up. So at the very minimum, have the confidence to justify a 4% increase in your prices. Another person said, I don't have tips, but I'm lurking, getting ready to increase my prices soon. Another person said, align to being worth receiving. I think that is easier said than done. I know that there are certain ways that you can align yourself to more. And I am not a super hippie woo-woo person, but I kind of come back to that confidence and proof and feedback. It's like, I think you have to have a lot of different indicators that help you feel confident in raising your prices and not just meditating on it. But aligning could be more than just the mindset of it. It could very much so be like doing the work, increasing the value in your offer, making sure things are more organized, that you have testimonials to back up your results, things like that. Another comment said, use a cost of doing business calculator. You would be shocked at how much you actually need to charge to make a decent salary. As a photographer, if I only charged $250 per session, I would have to do 200 sessions to make $50K a year if I didn't do taxes. Smiley face. Not to mention my website fees, business licenses, and insurance, rental space, equipment, and education. It's not cheap being a business owner, and you owe it to yourself to give yourself a decent living wage. Yes, 100% agree. Just like I said, use some logistics and some real factors to justify a price increase, and that's exactly what this person is talking about. Like, you actually have to add up your expenses, and you have to know how much it costs for you to even set up in order to be able to provide a service to people. So this also reminds me of when I teach people about doing events and retreats and things like that. You got to have a spreadsheet of your expenses, and that will give you an accurate cost of what you need to charge per ticket. The exact same thing is true when it comes to delivering a product or a service. A product might be easier to do the math on. A service might be a little bit more challenging, but at the same time, you have to know what you're paying for. Like, if I went through my subscriptions, guys, when I go through my QuickBooks, I'm paying for a lot of stuff. I'm paying for a lot of subscriptions that help my business run smoothly on the back end so that I can show up and be the expert in my field. So I really like that comment. Hey, my beautiful people. The message of waking up and showing up is yours for the taking. In fact, it's completely free. All you got to do is take this quick action. I've recorded my entire audiobook, and I'd love for you to consume it between episodes. Head to marcybarker.com to get instant access to the accountability code Wake Up and Show Up. The next person says, I think that this depends a little bit on the industry. If you sell a product, just go ahead and raise your prices. You can approach it like a sell and tell people to lock in pricing now if you want. But unless it's something that people are buying from you super regularly, they might not even realize that you raised your prices. If it is a service and you have regular customers, then I'm a big fan of giving them a heads up that prices are changing. This can be coupled with an opportunity to repurchase at the current price if you want, but you have to be comfortable with honoring that and having a good system in place for tracking it so you don't end up resentful down the line. I think that's really, really true. The next half of her comment says, I have a couple of clients that are grandfathered in at old pricing, but these are people who come every single month. They don't miss appointments or give me grief over anything. And they stuck with me through COVID, a personal crisis, and all other kinds of stuff. I have some colleagues who increase their prices for anyone new that comes into their practice, but keeps their previous clients at the old price. So there's a lot of ways to approach this depending on what feels right to you. I think there's a lot of validity there too. I think that there is some really good justification for keeping clients and customers in your circle who are loyal to you and they don't cause you any extra grief, just like she said. So I think that you also have to be careful with where you draw the line on like friends and family, because there are a lot of clients I've worked with that they're my really good friends now. And part of me is like, you don't have to keep paying me for us to hang out. Like, I will hang out with you anyway. But I do think that it's really important to keep the line really clear about the services that you provide and the cost of those services as well. I think there's also some validity to this commenter as well. Like, if you do have physical products and people are ordering from you all the time, I think it really is easy to justify a price increase, but it needs to be done with some planning and some preparation. Another person said, I wait until I'm burnt out and don't want to work anymore. And then I think, okay, they can pay me more and keep seeing me, or they can lose me. So I feel like I'm honoring them by honoring what I feel I'm worth and what it's worth to keep going. Your body will speak to you what you need when you need it. If you listen to your body, you will always be on the right path. I like the gist of this comment, because just like I was talking about with my client, if she raises her prices on her customer and they're like, we don't want to pay this, then she's like, cool, I don't need to be driving an hour to service you for the lowest wage possible. Like, she's charging the same price as she was charging them 2 years ago. And so it doesn't justify it anymore. So I think that this is a really good, this reminds me of Shark Tank, when the sharks are like, I don't get out of bed for 10%, you know? So I think that's really true, to ask yourself, what is it worth to you? This also reminds me of the movie Napoleon Dynamite, if you guys have seen that. Napoleon, he goes and works in a chicken factory, and after he's done, the guy's like, oh, I don't have my checkbook, hope I can pay you in cash, and he just pulls out all this change, and Napoleon goes home and he counts it on his table, and he counts it, and it's like $6, and he goes, $6 an hour. No, he says $6, it's like $1 an hour. I totally messed up the punchline, but you get it, and if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But really, you have to know what you're going into, or else you're going to recognize, like, dang, I've been just running not a business, but I have a really expensive hobby. And I actually did this. I did this in the year 2018 when I had a whole team of personal trainers. I actually submitted my business into like this mini Shark Tank thing, and I had to do all of my numbers. And I realized that in that year, in 2018, I made $67,000. And I did my expenses, and my expenses were $66,000. I made sure that my entire team got paid. I was paying their bills, and I was working for free because I loved my business, but I obviously was very ignorant of certain things on how to run a successful business. So after I did the numbers and the logistics, I was like, oh, wow, I'm doing this all wrong. It's time to get rid of my team and focus on growing a business that actually supports what I'm doing. So you definitely got to know the numbers. You have to know what you're working for and what you're going to get out of it for. So someone said, if someone complains, remind them why they do business with you in the first place. I think that that is a good comment. However, I think that if you have to justify what you do for them, I think that it's a good time to bless and release them. Like, if you have to remind them what you do, I feel like that might be coming from a place of desperation to keep working with you. And I don't like that. Another person said, rip off the Band-Aid. And that, I think, is great advice. Easier said than done. But also, that's why people hire me. is because they have a commitment and they have to follow through with it, and they have to report back to me if they raise their prices and what their client said. So I'm looking at you, client, you know who I'm talking about, and I'm excited to hear how things have gone. I know she listens to my podcast every single week. The next person said, raising your prices raises your vibration. You will never lose a good client when you value yourself and your worth, as well as weed out the clients just aren't your clients. What you gain is far greater than what you will lose. Successful people about what they are getting versus the price they are paying. Oh, I'm thinking it's supposed to say successful people worry about what they are getting versus the prices they are paying. Attract those successful clients and you will also find success. Totally agree with that. Another person said, I raise my rates every year. The cost of doing business increases every year. If I don't raise my rates, I lose money every year. An automatic price increase is written into my informed consent as well. I have never lost a client over it. That may happen at some point, but I also know there is an abundance of work and I have never been less than full for a week in 7 years of business. Awesome. A rate increase may be the excuse someone uses to move on, but it does not mean that they are truly leaving. I'm grateful and blessed. Mindset matters. When I move into lack, fear takes over. I really, really like that too. I think it makes a lot of sense for you to just plan on raising your rates every single year. Another person said, be clear on the problem you are solving for that person. Make sure it's communicated in a way they feel completely understood. When communicating your solution, deliver with complete certainty. Also, as far as price goes, essentially, if it's a high ticket offer, the solution you are offering is actually saving them a lot more than the investment in you. I really like that. That's high level mindset stuff. And that's something that I work with my clients in my mastermind is their messaging. Because if you are accurately nurturing people and providing results, then you will have way more clients that are like, your prices are too small, or I should have paid you more, or I would have paid you more, or I have made so much more money than I ever thought because of investing with you. So I think that's totally true. Okay, let's just do a couple more. We have a couple more here. I like to give my current clients a discount for maintaining with me. So if I raise my new client prices by $10, I'll raise my current clients by $5 and tell them thanks. That is another good point. That's not something that I have ever done, but for this person, I know that she happens to be a personal trainer. I think that makes a lot of sense to justify it in that way of like, hey, my rates are going up. This is what's competitive, but I value you, so I'm gonna not raise it as much. I think that is really, really good. I know too that some people will raise prices if there's a lapse in their contract and they say, hey, if you stick with me and we don't have a break in working together, I'll honor this price. But if you leave and you come back, like I can't promise those prices. I think that that's totally normal as well. All right, 2 more. Someone said, use it to market. Prices are going up. Buy it before the new price kicks in. And the last one is believe in yourself and your product. You won't always be everybody's thing, and that is okay. If they don't value you at a fair rate, then move along. I think that is perfect. We have so much wisdom here in the Boss Minded group, and I am so grateful that I've been able to create a community where women happily share their advice and help women move up in ways that they need to. So if you're not a member of Boss Minded yet, formerly known as Lady Bosses, then you got to jump in and join because it's going to be a really awesome place for you to grow. And ultimately, I want to help you use the accountability code to take action in all these parts of your business, because I can tell you when it comes to running a business, if you are not making the kind of money you need to survive and thrive, something's wrong. And there is always a solution to it. And if you need a loving kick in the pants that comes with clarity and strategy, then we definitely have to get on the phone. And right now I'm enrolling for my Wake Up and Show Up Mastermind so we can see if that's a good fit. And if not, there's always the next session of the Accountability Accelerator too that we can talk about. So let me know if you guys have any questions about raising your prices, if you have any things that you want to work through, or if you have more comments to add to this conversation. I would absolutely love that. But in the meantime, I hope to see you next week for another episode of Your Loving Kick in the Pants. Thank you for listening, friends. If you got value out of this episode, I would love for you to drop a review or share this with a friend. Let's be real. Let's spread the word because we all know someone who could use your loving kick in the pants.